Okay, we're back. We're live. It must be Wednesday because it is Hawaii, the state of clean energy. And Henry Curtis joins us today, Life of the Land, and also a blogger. And I get your blogs every day.
Aloha,
I don't
Jay.
know, you are very prolific, Henry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And my co-host, Ray Starling. Ray is so creative. You have such good ideas. Wow.
Oh, Jay.
We are so delighted to have you here, too.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
So let's go first to our special negawatt moment with Lily Koo of Hawaii
Energy.
Hawaii Energy. Okay, and she's going to talk about something with Aloha Petroleum. But let me mention that we lighted up the studio for you, and we put a camera on you, and you look terrific. And we're going to do that every Wednesday and even more often now that we figured out how to do it. ThinkTech forever, ThinkTech united, man. All right, Lily, what do you got?
Okay, well, first of all, just to start with, Hawaii Energy is actually an energy conservation and efficiency program. It's funded by electric ratepayer like you and me. We pay for this program, so you should definitely take advantage of it, and we serve all islands except Kauai. So we're the one.
Can you come up closer to the mic and talk a little louder?
Okay, we're the one who give out energy efficiency rebate for people to offset, the cost of installing energy efficient equipment. And today I would like to talk about a wonderful project that is done by Aloha Petroleum, and they have 17 locations. And one of the fastest and easiest way to save energy is to change into more energy efficient type of lighting. And LED is the lighting source of new generation nowadays. And what they did was they changed out the metal halide, 400-watt metal halide. Those are the energy suckers, and then replaced by the energy efficient lighting, LED lighting. So just by doing that, Hawaii Energy has given them more than $41,000 of rebate, and the savings they have is $308,000 worth of kWh, which is equivalent to almost 88,000 of annual, $88,000 of savings.
We have a picture. Let's take a picture. This is a ceremonial picture of you guys giving them a check.
Yes.
There it is. Exciting.
Yes. And
who's in the picture?
Those are one of them is the maintenance manager as well as the operations manager, Jimmy Pastor, and who actually initiated the whole project. And as a matter of fact, he's so impressed with our energy efficiency, efforts for doing, making everything efficient for the business. He actually joined our program recently.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, terrific, Lily. Lily Koo. So, Henry, you want to ask some cross-examination about this?
No, just to say you're doing a marvelous job, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
He doesn't say that to everybody.
You'll have to write a blog about her sometime soon, huh?
Okay, Lily, thank you very much for coming down and joining us.
Thank you.
Come again.
Thank you, Lily.
We'll turn the lights on for you anytime.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Henry, your turn. So you wrote this blog, it's an article, I guess, and it's called Regulating Hawaiian Electric, The Changing of the Guard. I mean, do you write all this yourself? Because you're very prolific. I mean, every day you come up with this really interesting stuff.
I do write it, but I've been involved in energy for nearly 2 decades now, and therefore a lot of thoughts are swirling around in my head. And I figured the best thing to do is not to hoard it all, but to get it out.
Yes, I agree. My brother goes on TV a lot. He's into military justice and the like. And I asked him, how do you prepare? How do you prepare for these national TV things, almost as important as ThinkTech talk shows? And he said, I'm always preparing. I live in this envelope of information. I'm always preparing. So it sounds like you and my brother.
Yeah, I Google what has happened in the last 24 hours with each of several keywords, and then I wander around in my own mind thinking about where I want to go, and then I write something.
Good for you, a dedicated man. So So the article is really about the jobs that are going to come open, and the fact that the governor is going to have to appoint these jobs. And now we have a governor, and so you can make some predictions about, A, what kind of person he might appoint, B, what kind of overall, initiatives he might generate, and C, what kind of things these people might do within those initiatives. So it's a very interesting article because it identifies, as Ray pointed out to me, jobs that we didn't know were there.
Well, we didn't know how they connected.
Yeah, okay,
No.
fair, yeah. We
We
knew
knew they
but
were there,
yeah,
we
okay.
just didn't know how they were connected, so.
So I guess the first question is, in general, how do you think this administration is going to change on the question of energy?
I think in all probability, Hermina Merita will be reappointed for her term. And that sort of takes care of sort of 3 jobs, because while we have 3 public utilities commissioners in this state, I often think that we really have like 5, because we have the 3 commissioners, and we have the chief counsel, and we have the chief policy analyst. And the last 2 are appointed by the chair of the PUC. So if somebody had one that would have replaced Hermina as chair, then they would have the new person would have also brought in new key staff people who might or might not have had as much weight as the current staff members have.
Yeah, okay, so that's a 3-for-1
Yes.
arrangement.
But it should be pointed out that Tom Gorick accepted the position of chief legal counsel
Yeah.
when he was planning on retiring.
Yeah.
And Mina brought him in for a period of time, so it's not clear how long he plans to stay. And Jay Griffin is on loan from the university, and at some point has to return. But for the time being, it looks like the 3 of them will be there.
Okay, but that's not going to be all that long. It's probably not going to be 4 years, is it?
Right.
Yeah. Well, interesting. So now, if the 2 possibilities are that the governor would have found a new chair, and that might have changed things, but because he seems to be looking in Hermina Merita's direction, then it'll be that way. And the question is, what is that way? Can you put a handle on which way Hermina Merita will go once she's reappointed? I mean, she's been in a tentative situation, right, for the past 6 months anyway.
Yes.
She's been sort of there but not appointed, sort of
A hangover.
yeah. So once appointed, once this is squared away, any ideas about which direction she's going to go?
I have found Mina to be very knowledgeable about her own path, but not always. Being a commissioner, you can't come out and say, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And therefore, it's hard to read how any commissioner is thinking about where the future, what's going to happen. There are a lot of issues on the plate, and the commission cannot handle all of them, and therefore it has to pick and choose which ones to move forward with. And I don't have the crystal ball that tells me which ones they're taking on first.
So perhaps you can speak to the question of how powerful the chair is in the PUC. I mean, do the other commissioners follow? Sometimes you go to the legislature and you see the chair of a committee and he says something. You say, God, that's wrong, but they all follow him anyway. Does that legislative approach work the same way in the PUC?
That is a very good question. Let me say with absolute certainty that before Carlito Caliboso became chair, the chair ran the PUC and the other people were there as window dressing. Under Carlito, the other members began to have more weight. Certainly now we have the strongest PUC we've ever had, 3 powerful commissioners, 2 very powerful secondary commissioners. So we have 5 people who are very knowledgeable, and the PUC has now taken on such an enormous range of understanding of energy issues. I mean, you have to understand the cybersecurity, You have to understand the physical attacks against the utility. You have to understand the grid. You have to understand generation. You have to understand the accounting. There's just way too much for any one person to handle. So it appears that the commissioners have divvied up the work, but it's hard to read how decisions are made behind the scenes.
What do you mean by powerful? You say they're more powerful. What does that mean? Knowledgeable or more? It means more than knowledgeable, doesn't it?
I mean that the amount of issues that the PUC is wrestling with is too much for any one person to understand. And in the past, one person would make the decision and assign staff to sort of fill in the dots, fill in the blanks. Now it appears that each of the commissioners are taking sections of the load. How they combine them and how they decide to put together the total load is hard to figure.
You know, I went last week. It's very interesting you should mention cyber security. I went last week to a program at the Bank of Hawaii. It was organized by the East-West Center. Small attendance, intentionally. And it involved a guy who was here on academic R&R from Japan. His name is Motohiro Tsuchiya, and he's an expert in cyber terrorism, cyber war. And although the government in Japan doesn't do much about this, there's not a lot of law on this question in Japan. There's more here. He made it clear that this is the way of the future. And what I got out of that, which I've been thinking about all week after going to that, is that our greatest vulnerability is energy. You know, I mean, of course, the internet comes down, we'll all have a different life immediately. But you know, it doesn't really, you know, affect you in a total way until the lights go out and you have nothing. And they're related. You know,
yes.
Energy and internet are directly related. If you cut the internet, you're probably cutting energy. And of course, if you're cutting energy, by definition, you're cutting the internet. There's nothing to run it anymore.
And you're cutting the water supply and the sewage disposal supply and everything. So I think utilities across the country are becoming more and more aware of both the physical attack threat and the cyber attack threat. And of course, they don't want to publicly say they're working on either of them. And the number of people who know specifically what's going on has to be limited. But at the same time, there has to be ways for groups to monitor what's going on.
Yeah, so you're saying that the PUC thinks about this. It's on their radar somehow.
Right, and I would say Commissioner Champley is more focused on the cybersecurity issues.
Yeah, because they divide up the work.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, let's go forward, unless Ray has something at this point in time.
No, I'm mesmerized here. Yeah, Henry might tell us a little bit about his background, because he did mention that he'd been in the business for a while, but he has been around and seen a lot of things come and go, and he has a great interest in making sure we end up in the right place with all the chaos that's going on now with PV and utility morphing into its new self. So he writes, his blog is very informative, I find. It tells me things that, even though I've been in the business for a long time, it tells me things that I didn't know.
Yeah.
So my hat's off to you.
The first thing you do is say thanks. That's the
Thank
first
you.
thing. You want to give us?
It was processing.
You want to give us some, a little more on your, your experience
How
in
did
the
you
area?
get started?
Yeah.
What brought you into this field?
Well, if we go way, way back, I was always interested in nature. I actually spent a semester at an engineering school studying biochemical engineering.
Okay.
My chemistry professor said, I'm going to make the course so difficult that a third of you are going to flunk, and there's no book capable of keeping up with me. And I said, why the heck am I here? So I went to public school. I got a degree in economics. I studied economics at the graduate level. Really interested in intra-commodity market modeling. So, for example, playing hard wheat off against soft wheat on a futures market.
I wouldn't have guessed that offhand about you.
Well, there are a few other things you probably wouldn't guess about me, because the 60s were a very turbulent time. There were a lot of police confrontations with people who were against the Vietnam War, as I was. So I took 2 years of police science in college.
Oh, really?
I chaired a school with 850 police science majors and found that fascinating, studying investigation of crimes and that kind of stuff. So
That's fabulous. You know, they're going to know now.
yeah, yeah.
But Jay and I remember that era as well, you see.
Yeah, we were in the service saluting people, you know.
Well, I spent 9 years as community co-chair of the Hickam Air Force Base Restoration Advisory Board,
Oh, really?
which dealt with toxic cleanups. I was on Pearl Harbor and Schofield boards also.
Oh, wow.
But it dealt with how the military is cleaning up their waste, how you find it, how you locate it, how you prioritize it, how you evaluate the risk, going to risk workshops for the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force.
Okay, all right, well, perfect time for a break, so we can all sort of integrate that information. It's fabulous to know that about you, Henry. So this is ThinkTech Talks, and we're, of course, on a Wednesday, we're talking about the state of energy, and the title I have given, I don't think I mentioned it before, is New Governor, comma, what now, question mark, with Henry Curtis, Life of the Land and blogger. And other things we just heard about. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on the ThinkTech Digital Series. The show is every Wednesday from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and I want you to watch this show because I think that when we talk with artists on the show about what they do, how they do it, and most importantly, why they do it, I believe that it resonates within each of us and we find something inside of ourselves that brings us closer to all of humanity. That's what arts are there to do, and that's what I'm here to do on this show. That's Center Stage. It's on every Wednesday from 2 to 3 o'clock. I hope to see you there.
Okay, we're back. We're live. I'm Jay Fidell here on ThinkTech Talks, and we're talking about energy here in the state of clean energy. New governor, what now? With Henry Curtis, who wrote a nice blog about this called Regulating Hawaiian Electric, the Changing of the Guard. So you also talked about the, the PUC Executive Officer, who handles the administrative functions, recruitment, procurement, contracts, finance, budget planning, and so forth. That's not among the two you're talking about before?
No, because that position has never existed up until now. So it's a new position. And theoretically, it's to take the weight of all the administrative stuff off the chair. So you don't have to cover every pencil that you buy and every secretary you hire, that there can be someone who handles all of the administrative functions.
Okay. So that has to be appointed, and let's see. But the commission, namely the chair, appoints that. So it's actually 4 for 1.
Well,
right, but we don't know who that person is.
Is that an appointed position, or is it like a competed position that's selected by the commission, or what? Do you? I just realized I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's a new statutory position.
Right. I'm not sure the mechanism.
Not sure how it
all
gets done.
That's not going to have a lot to do with policy, though.
Probably not.
Well, it's gonna have a lot to do with beefing up the staff, keeping it keeping it full when someone leaves. So we get it filled.
Right, so they ought to be more robust.
The budget needs to be put in place and not pilfered along the way, so that it by the governor's office or by the administration, whoever that might be.
Right. That's another one.
It needs to stay. The budget that's given to them is meager anyway by comparison with other states. But when you look at what it has to go for and what it has to do, it's really, really small. So you don't want to, once you've given them a budget and they're sticking with the budget, you don't want to take that money back.
Right. So
that's been a big.
If the person handles sort of the administrative fiscal stuff, and also looks for available grants that are available or something like that, and keeps track of all the dockets that are floating around, that may take a lot of weight off, and that may make their position fairly powerful.
Yeah, okay. Now, what about the Hawaii Electricity Reliability Authority, the HERA?
HERA.
It's an administrative job. What is it?
Traditionally, across the United States, reliability councils handle reliability issues. So you have utilities on the one hand, you have the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which handles regulation, and then you have a bunch of reliability councils that handle interconnection issues. Here in Hawaii, the utility has always handled their own reliability issue. But the idea was if you create a separate administrator and give them responsibility to oversee some of the reliability impacts, some of the interconnection requirements, that would both put it under the PUC, which is good because you don't want the utility saying, oh, we can't hook up one more solar. Oh, by the way, we can now hook up another 1,000. You need somebody who actually has the understanding of what the reliability issues are. So that's going to be a new
You
position.
say soon to be created. Does that mean it has been created, or
It's
are
been
you waiting on the
created.
legislature to do something next session?
No, it's been the authority has been created by the legislature, and the Public Utilities Commission created a reliability standards working group, 24 people that they assigned to sort of help develop the framework. Those have both been done, and now there's the official signing of the contract with someone.
Oh,
Sort of like they have a contract with you for Hawaii Energy.
the same thing, isn't it? Hawaii Energy and Hawaii Reliability. That's very interesting. So, so this would be, would it also be under the PUC and funded, are you funded
No, it would be
through the PUC? Or?
Well, we're funded through the PUC, but it's a fee that's on everybody's electric bill.
Is this going to work the same
It's a
way?
public benefits fee.
Right.
Probably.
And that, I'm not sure, it may be, I'm not sure where the fee is coming
Right.
for this.
It will come
but-
from
It's
somewhere.
interesting because the efficiency thing was originally with the utility.
Yes.
Now it's with Hawaii Energy.
It's
And
a
now
third, it's a
reli-
third
Now
party
reliability
administrator.
used to be with the utility, and now reliability is going to be with this
And
reliability
the third
authority.
piece that's going to come off is the generation.
Okay.
As all generation in the near future will be done by independent power producers, and it will leave the utility with just managing the grid.
Isn't the utility also getting involved in new renewable generation itself?
Very little of the new generation is theirs. Mostly they're contracting out. So there
But
are
some
many,
is.
there are many who believe that in 5 years there'll be nothing left of the utility except the transmission and distribution system.
Which is the grid.
Yeah.
Okay, so this administrator, the reliability administrator, however he's funded and wherever he sits, he'll be looking at things like, is the system reliable?
Yeah. Is
But
it reliable? How
You're
do you?
suggesting it'll also be, is the right thing happening with regard to interconnection?
Yes.
It's wrapped up within reliability somehow.
Yes.
Is that in the statute?
I believe so. Yes.
See,
Interesting.
on the mainland, since it goes from state to state, the interconnections cross state lines, the federal government kind of monitors that, the FERC.
And the
Okay.
NERC.
And the NERC, right?
So FERC is more regulation, and NERC is more the reliability
Right,
standards.
right.
So NERC operates under FERC.
You heard it here. Here on ThinkTech.
But we're going to
really
have our
drill
own.
down.
We're going to have our own now, and that's a good thing because even though we don't cross state lines, the complexity of what's going on right now in the utility arena is even more complex than crossing state lines.
Yes.
This is we're testing systems here that have never been used before, like we're using them with the interconnection of renewables and
Yeah, I
the
mean,
grid.
interconnection is actually closer to the heart of, if you will, if you let me say this, closer to the heart of providing power, affirmatively providing power to people than even efficiency is. Although in many ways efficiency is more important.
Well, we could have a show on that all by
Another
itself.
show.
But,
I'll let the two argue which is more powerful.
Bash it out, yeah. So, but the thing is, this is very technical area. So the guy who gets to be the reliability administrator running the Hawaii Electricity Reliable Authority, he's going to have to be a very technical guy, no?
And will probably be somebody from the mainland.
Who's been doing it?
Yes.
with FERC and NERC and what have you.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's been rumored that the contract with whoever it is has been almost about to go for quite a while. So,
Does that mean it's going to happen soon?
well, as long as I
know
don't have
it's
to define
terribly
soon.
unfair question.
As long as I don't have to define soon, yes, it will happen soon.
Soon in the theoretical.
Yes.
We just determined who the new governor was going to be yesterday, right?
Give us a break.
Last night.
Yeah.
A matter of hours ago. Okay, so let's get, I'll take a break, but after we come back from the break, I'll let you get into the thing about DCCA and DBED, because, they have had a fair amount of, and when I say DCCA, I mean Consumer Advocate.
Yes,
Right.
two very powerful entities.
And DBED, which is, a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts about DBED. And the question, I suppose, after the break, is whether the appointment of somebody else in DBED is going to have a dramatic effect to a change on things in the coming administration. And finally, and I just to give you some advance on this, is that you mentioned, and I think it's really important, is there might be additional staff, if you will, energy staff, sitting on the 5th floor in the
Yes.
governor's office and handling various aspects of this, because that's the way it works sometimes here in Hawaii. They
Yes.
sprout up on the 5th floor and do things. Okay, but first we'll take a break, then we get into the heavy load in that area.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, this is ThinkTech. That's Henry Curtis. That's Ray Starling. We're talking about the state of clean energy here. New governor, what now? We'll be right back.
Aloha, hello. My name is Hong Jiang, and I host ThinkTech Asia every Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. At our show, we talk about issues that are important in Asia, such as environment, culture, history, religion. We broadcast live, and we're also on Olalo 54. Make sure to tune in, and we'll see you there. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, we're back. We're live. No kidding. We're here with Henry Curtis and my co-host Ray Starling here on the State of Clean Energy every Wednesday, 4 to 5. And we're talking about new governor, what now? Which is really a lot of questions, but very important questions. Questions we should ask now, the day after the election. Let's get going on this, Let's not wait for 4 years. Let's do it. Okay, so the first one of these jobs, just following the track of your article, your blog here called The Changing of the Guard, is the consumer advocate. I hadn't really focused, but that means Jeff Ono could go away, will go away. Will he go away?
Of all of the people who are holdovers from the last administration, he seemed to be the least uptight about the transition, and also being open to staying. So,
He's a good guy, too. He's a fair-minded man. They don't come easy,
So that's one possibility. Another possibility is you might have somebody heading the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, sort of his theoretical boss, and leaving him in place, or you might replace him, who knows. But one name that has sort of floated around as a possible position, and maybe there, maybe elsewhere, would be Senator Baker. But it's hard to tell from
Neighbor
rumors.
Island, very smart, knows how government works, doesn't take wooden nickels.
Right.
Yeah, gee, that would be an interesting.
But that's just a rumor, and who knows?
But if I were David Ige, I would look to the legislature. Neil Abercrombie did, and for many jobs, look to the legislature. I would too. He knows those people, and
Yes.
he can trust those
That's
people.
where the current chair came from, right?
Yeah. That's what Abercrombie did. But the thing is, you want somebody who's ostensibly on the same page, somebody that you know for a long time. These are very important appointments. If you want to have a decent energy initiative, you have to make your appointments carefully. If you don't, then you're not on the same page with the people who are supposed to be executing your initiative.
Now, one of the catches on the whole Senate thing is that the Senate the leadership is a little bit fluid, and if you start taking people away from the Senate, you can shift the balance in the Senate.
That's true. So it has to be done carefully.
Yes.
Yeah, with due regard for that particular process. Okay, so you know, you say that the director of the Department of Commerce would have some kind of effect on this. That hasn't happened in the past, right? The director of DCCA hasn't really been involved very much in energy. Left
No,
it to the
well,
consumer advocate.
I remember reading a few things when Robbie Alm headed DCCA.
It's way back when.
Yeah, okay.
History.
Okay, history. Okay.
Robbie Alm is going to be our speaker at our December 11th, I hope you're coming, December 11th ThinkTech United program.
Oh, wow.
He's going to talk about leadership, of course. That's what he talks about. We're looking forward.
Cool.
I had to mention that. Okay, so so what about it, though? I mean, DCCA, it could be a powerful job. In the area of telecommunications, it is a powerful job for sure. Insurance, I think, also. But never heard it, you know, used in the context of energy. You think that could change?
It might change, or it might be that Senator Baker could become the consumer advocate.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, given her seniority, and given the seniority of those two jobs, my guess is that she'd take a cabinet level position.
Probably.
Long before she'd take a consumer advocate position.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, the consumer advocate, you know, I think he's done a good job. I mean, until a few years ago, it was like a non-job. Now it's become, you know, something on the radar. So that person, whoever it is, whether it's Jeff or somebody else in the next administration, is an important player.
Yes.
Especially if you address the solution to all of these problems that we have in moving forward.
And especially if you consider that in most states, the consumer advocate represents just either residential or small businesses. Our consumer advocate represents everybody. So the consumer advocate even represents commercial interests and the utility, which is kind of bizarre because if you consider that some regulatory proceedings before the PUC, there's only the commissioners, the utility, and the consumer advocate. If the consumer advocate is watching out for the utility and for residents, that
Kind of a conflict.
yeah. So one possibility that has been talked about for eons and may soon occur is actually separating the functions. So you have a consumer advocate for small business, you have one for residences, you have one for commercial interests.
You want to know my reaction, Henry?
No more layers of government.
That's right. You knew I was going to say that because I know you feel the same way.
I set you up on that one.
Thanks for the setup. Ray, what do you think? I mean, have we got enough layers of government? Have we got enough people we are paying lifetime pensions to who get fabulous medical benefits? Or do we need more?
Well, if you put it that way, I must agree with you. But I do, you know, the issue with the consumer advocate having, in some respects, perhaps conflicts, that is something that I think, especially if there are going to be lots of more interactions other than the standard that we've had before with the utility and the customers and the PUC. If we're going to have, you know, people who are generating power, selling to the utility, who's distributing the power, and then that's being sold to the customers, there may be a need to do something different from what we've had. What's worked for us in the past, arguably, may not work for us in the future.
That's true, but let me offer you a possibility, just sort of taking some of the statements that have been made in the course of the campaign. You know, there's a provision in the law around the PUC that allows them to arbitrate and mediate. They don't have to go fighting everything. They don't have to have quasi-judicial, you know, litigation type process that takes forever. They can actually talk to people, okay? Now, if it was me, and I don't know what David Ige will do, but if it was me, I would encourage that. I would say, come on, you guys, let's get in a room here. This is not that complicated, okay? And so I don't want more layers of people who can stand around in the PUC and make legal arguments. I want them to get in a room and solve the problem, not in 2 or 3 or 4 years, but by 4 o'clock. Now, if that happens, it may or may not happen. Maybe we'd all like it to happen, but maybe some of us would like it to happen. But if that happens, then it could be simple. Wouldn't that be a good thing?
I would favor a sort of a compromise that you could have hearing officers, and you could have different hearing officers for different cases. I still think that having an evidentiary hearing with cross-examination is important, because you get somebody on a stand and you put them under oath, they're far more likely to tell you the truth, and you can really get to matters a lot quicker. But if you had different hearing officers to handle the different things, and then the commissioners looked at all the information coming and just worked on the rulings, that could work efficiently also.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'd take, if I was governor, and I didn't run, as you noticed, I'd take any system that would move the needle faster.
Yes.
Because moving the needle slower is really awful. And maybe, just maybe, we'll have this, quiet but effective approach where people get in a room and they agree and they go forward and they're not arguing in the newspapers. Because when you argue in the newspaper, you're actually slowing everything down. I'm accepting your blog, however, and my articles.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. We got 7 or 8 minutes left.
DBED is an important position.
Yes, you
And
knew I was going to ask that.
You have 2 positions. You have whoever's head of DBED, who has always gotten involved in energy, and you have the administrator of the state energy office. So you have 2 very powerful positions, and I don't know who would be selected for either of them.
What should happen here? The state DBED, I mean, I don't think the spirit of the Clean Energy Initiative was realized in the course of the Abercrombie administration. Agree or disagree? I mean, I think it could have been a lot better. And I believed that, I guess it was after the Clean Energy Initiative, that DBED was made the chief energy officer of the state. And the chief energy officer actually just works for him.
But they have never distinguished before any proposal brought to them. They're always like, there are 50 proposals that are brought to us, and this is all 50 on a sheet of paper. If you were actually going to be pushing something, you'd have to prioritize what you were pushing.
Okay.
And so I think that is one problem with the agency. They're just so big, they don't have any prioritization, and they don't have any rules in place to say how they accept public input. The consumer advocate
Which means they
doesn't have
don't
any
get a
rules
lot of
either.
public. They get public input when they want it, and when they don't want it,
Right.
they don't get it. Yeah, I mean, this all could be better. I think we agree with that. And if he, for example, David Ige appointed somebody who was really energy oriented, who wanted to build clean energy, who wanted to do, renewables to the extreme as far as we could possibly do them, and as quickly as we could do them, then that would make as the DBED, as the director of DBED, that would make a big difference. Because if the director of DBED, is committed in that area, the chief energy officer, where Mark Glick is now, becomes the executive officer.
Right.
He gets to do it. But the policy and, the direction, that's at the top of the agency. And that would be almost like having, in fact, it would be like having an energy department that is a cabinet level department, which a lot of people think is perfectly appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah.
But who that person is, I don't know. If you want to talk
available,
about
Henry?
the
You
no,
available?
if you want to talk about the AG, I can speculate on that, but I don't know about DBED.
Okay. Yeah, that's a hard one. And that's not going to be an easy one to fill. But it will have a huge effect. Because,
It will.
It could have a huge effect.
Yes.
It could
It
be
needs
same old.
to. It needs to have a huge
Yes.
effect. I mean,
Yes.
really, we have to be moving forward. I mean, we cannot, I don't think the system will stay stable for much longer if we're not moving in a good direction. Just because there are too many options out there now that can have people leaving the system. And I think that's the worst thing that we could see right now, because that would leave a large population that could not leave the system.
It's almost like a tub where water is flowing out of the bottom, causing instability,
Right.
and you're trying to keep the surface level.
Yeah, it needs to happen. Whoever, the new administration and the people that they bring in, they've got to hit the ground running and make some things happen. Now, I think the momentum was set up by all of the things that happened in the spring with the directives from the PUC, but that's got to continue, and it's got to move even faster, I think, or they will be overcome by events, and that means anybody who can buy a battery and put PV on their roof, they're going to be leaving the system, and that everyone that does that will make the system more and more unstable.
Yeah. So, so you say the DBED guy, the director of DBED, could actually have an effect, a positive effect,
Yes.
on moving this forward. So he should be a real energy person. And indeed, when you think about it, DBED doesn't have that much to do with tourism. Business development, I delegate that. Really, we haven't done a lot of business development in this state in the past 10 years. I remember Linda Lingle got up in her first campaign. She said, "I'm going to wake up every morning. I'm going to call a mainland company, have them come out here, establish a branch or a factory or a research facility." Nothing.
And now she's at Cornell talking about the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative.
Perfect. We got to give her credit for that. She started that. But to me, the DBED thing is the guy who implements the policy, or actually thinks of it, gets approval from the governor, implements it with his staff. That's really valuable, and we could really use that at this point in time going forward. He could hold all the pieces together, I think, is what you're saying.
How many men and or women do you know of in this state who are conflict-free, who have that kind of expertise?
They'd have to shed the conflicts, Henry. That's the old problem, and it's very problematic because people are not, willing to do that.
Yeah,
so they don't
that's
take
true.
the job. Hard to find good people.
You also could, just being crazy, thinking out of the box, take someone from the PUC like Lorraine Akiba and make her head of DBED.
Not a bad idea. I hope you're watching, Lorraine. Anyway, so it seems to me like that's the way it's going to work. And see if you agree that David Ige is an engineer. He believes in energy, but for the actual initiatives, he should be looking at a strong DBED, and he should be making DBED, into a sort of an energy department and giving them lots of authority and lots of encouragement, taking their advice and so forth. And that would be, if he does that, that would really be the best thing this administration could do.
Yes. And he'll have, I guess, a month or two to figure out who those people should be.
Well, that means we have to get together again, Henry. We can't let this thing die in the vine. We have to keep it going, It's our obligation. All right. So anyway, that's Henry Curtis and Ray Starling. And Henry's with Life of the Land, and Ray Starling is my co-host. Oh, let's give Ray 1 minute to summarize this discussion, because we always need that to stay focused.
General, it's your turn.
Yeah.
Well, like I've said so many times before, we're going to have Henry back. I recommend everybody read his blog. You don't have to agree with everything that's in here, but the information is incredibly...
And the issues.
The issues and the information is incredibly good to help you think through everything that's going on. And I just want to thank you very much for coming, be with us today, and stay tuned, you people online here watching, because this is where the action is. It's going to happen or not happen. Hopefully it does happen in the energy world, where we get over the hump, and so there are many things that are going to happen over the next couple of months. They're very important for the future of Hawaii. So we'll have Henry back so he can keep us informed as we go forward.
Yeah, we're going to follow the story together.
Great.
All right, Henry Curtis, Ray Starling,
All right.
State of Clean Energy, new governor. What now? Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.